Thanks, Alan, and thank you, FOLA, for having me today. I just want to take you through a few updates, things that have been happening around LiRN, and I believe there will be some time at the end if you have some questions for me. For anyone I haven't met yet, hello, nice to sort of meet you, and you can find me after this segment. I'll be here for lunch, and then unfortunately I do have to leave, so if you need to grab me, please find me at lunch. I want to talk a little bit about the budget process for this year. You would have seen some communications where we made a few little changes to the budget process that we hope are going to make things run smoothly and be a little bit easier on both you for sending things in an organized manner and for us in collecting it and collating the information. So just to go through some of the deadlines, highlights of that, we sent out excess fund balance notifications prior to business cases coming due. Those business cases were due May 9th, and those business cases were for both proposals for using the excess funds, if you had any, and for anything that you wanted to put into your budget. So if it was a capital expense, if you're expecting your budget to go up by quite a bit, that kind of thing can be included in the proposals. I have had a few people asking me for extensions. It's a new deadline this year, so that is a perfectly understandable ask, and we had some calculation errors with EFBs that also made it very reasonable to ask for an extension. So if you do need an extension, you do want to put in a business case and you haven't already, send me an email and let me know, and that can very easily be arranged. As I'm going through the business cases now, if I have any questions or need any clarifications, I'll be reaching out to you over the next few weeks. Our board meeting is on May 29th, and that's when I'll be bringing the business cases to the board. For those of you who have extensions beyond May 29th, I'll be contacting the board via email to talk about yours. So you won't be left behind. You'll just be discussed sort of over email as opposed to at the meeting itself. And after that point, if the board has anything that they need clarified, I will reach out to you again at that point. And the following week, by June 7th, we're going to be sending out to you a response to the business case. So yes or no, or need more information, which hopefully won't be the case because there'll have been communication all along. At that point, you'll know what has been approved, and I hope that will make it easier to put in a finalized budget, so you'll know without having to wait till my board approves the budget what has become of the business cases that you've put in. So that we're asking for by June 28th. So we're asking for it by the end of June. That gives us some time to review them, to collate them, to put them together into the spreadsheets that we use to create our grant request to the Law Society. So it gives us a little bit of time to work with that over the summer before I need to bring the budget into my board. My board will be looking at the budget, including the proposed grants, the operation costs for LiRN, and the explanatory notes, the documentation that we send along with the budget to the Law Society. They'll be looking at all of that at the end of August 29th. And it's very shortly after that our materials are due at the Law Society for their Audit and Finance Committee to take it from there. So what we've tried to do is give you as much time as possible to work up your budgets while still giving us time on our end to collate it, to review it, to identify any themes that might be going on, so that we can work on the explanatory notes and whatever sort of persuasive documentation needs to be written to go along with it to the Law Society. As I'm sure you know, between September and October is usually when Convocation and its committees look at their overall budget, of which LiRN is part of that process. So we usually find out somewhere around the end of October, although in my, I think, 4 years now at LiRN, already it's been November in one of those years. So we will hope that it is October. I have no reason to think it won't be October this year, but it has sometimes been later than that. So we'll keep an eye on that. And then after that, we're able to send out the grant letters. I mentioned earlier that if you have a business case and you need an extension from yesterday, just let me know. Please let me know. The intention, like I said, is to put the business cases before the board on May 29th. But like I said, given this is the first year of these dates, we wanted to build in a little bit of extra time. So the board is aware that they may be getting some requests later than this and are prepared for that. We also have a new grant request form, which I hopefully saw in the materials that we sent around. This form draws out some key information about your grant request, and the two key ones from my end, the total amount of the grant that you're asking for, and a contact person to get in touch with if we have questions about the budget. That's going to make it easier and quicker for us to consolidate that information and come up with the line item that we need to get approved from the Law Society. So that form is new, should be very quick to fill out. It's basically just a number and your name, email address, a signature, and a date. That's all we need. And then the supporting budget in Excel. We have a budget tip sheet to help you with filling out all the templates, which you can find attached to the email that I sent out, but it's also on our website. Another note about the grant request form. So there is a statement on the request form. Submitted budgets propose that grant funds will be spent in the following categories: collections, payroll expenses, operating expenses, and capital expenses. Grant funds should generally be spent in these categories as proposed in the budget. However, LiRN recognizes that flexibility is required to operate libraries efficiently and effectively. Associations may reallocate the higher of 10% or $1,000 from any one budget category to another. Reallocations greater than this should be discussed with LiRN in advance. And so the idea there is to make sure that you know it's okay to, if you've underspent on electronic collections and you want to buy some books that are on sale in December, that's okay. You don't need to run that by us. If it's a large amount, we want the heads up, essentially. And so it's a little, I couldn't find a better way of expressing it than higher of 10% or $1,000. So if it's the higher amount. There's flexibility. If it's $1,000, but 10% is $5,000, you go up to $5,000 of the reallocation. We don't need to be involved in that decision. And if it's higher than that, just let us know so we know what's happening and we can be accountable to our funder. I would recommend, and this is sort of related to the excess fund balance, I just want to recommend that take a look at your fund balance and all of your books, particularly in sort of Q3, maybe early Q4, and see where things stand. Given that flexibility of being able to move money around if you need to, given the fact that there's often a lot of sales from legal publishers in December, if you do have extra money in the fund, that would be a really good time to take a look at it and see what's necessary for your library. Is your printer on its last legs? Is there a great sale on textbook that you've been wanting to get? That sort of thing. And you can allocate the money as need be to make those investments at that time. It's good practice anyway, and I think a lot of you are very up to date on what's happening with the funding. I think that there may be some concern that you can't spend the money out of those those buckets, and so I just wanted to clarify that for everybody that's expected. That's not a concern for us, and we're just asking for a heads up if it's a larger amount. I want to give you a quick update on the Law Foundation of Ontario grant. A lot of things have been happening around that. So as you'll recall, there was a 2-year project, Innovation and Equity of Access to Legal Resources, project that was funded by the Law Foundation. And there were 2 streams to that project. The first one being the Innovation Sandbox, and the second one being collections and bringing collections up to the core list. We've had a number of innovation suggestions come through. Just take you through just a couple. So in Peel, I can't tell where Peel is, but Peel had a great idea, and they created a slow zone for their library, and they did it without funding from the Innovation Fund, but I believe they're going to be expanding it and putting in an application for some funding for this. They did extensive research into mental health supports and designed and implemented a space for library users who need a private space to manage overwhelm or to nurse or to pray. It's a multifunctional room, and it's such a fabulous idea, and I think was done fairly easily. I don't know, I don't want to say it was easy because I know it was a lot of work and a lot of research that went into it, but just a fabulous idea. In Waterloo, Waterloo implemented digital signage, and they keep it updated with library information. So recently, when they had to close for inclement weather, they were able to inform their users on how to get in touch with them when they worked from home. There's other benefits that come in with this digital signage as well. It's a TV that they have a software program. They can put updates out into the courtroom. So just a great idea. We recently got a similar application for the Innovation Sandbox for a similar project in Lambton that was recently approved. I think that was last night that I sent you the email for that. So it looks like that one is something that's going to spread a little bit. So I encourage you to look into that if it's something that would be helpful for your library. It's a great and surprisingly inexpensive innovation that has had great results. I know that the Toronto Lawyers Association has been piloting some innovative resources. The IRIS, which I can't remember what it stands for, Joan.
Restructuring.
Yes, insolvency and restructuring. An AI-powered service, and they're testing out pleadings motions in FACTA as well. There's other projects that are going on. There's some centralized projects as well. So one of the things that came up in a brainstorming session about the Innovation Sandbox and what to do with the Innovation Sandbox was free. It was the library use protocol. So we heard from several library staff that they would like to have something that would enable them to enforce some rules of conduct in their libraries. So with a lot of help from Justin, I'm not sure if Justin's here today, we put together a library use protocol. FOLA had provided their comments on it as well, and ran it by my board in case they had any comments on it. Just posted it to our website, but we haven't sent it around yet because we just posted it. We were hoping to get it posted a little bit earlier after our board meeting, but as you know, we're down an administrative assistant, so that had to wait a couple of weeks before it finally got up. But we will be sending a link to that around, and if you wanted to copy and adapt for your own purposes, feel free to do that as well, or you can link directly to it if you'd like. Essentially, it sets out some expectations around behavior in the libraries, and I think is a welcome and, again, free innovation, which is nice. A couple of the other things that came up when we were doing some brainstorming for this. Do I still have time, Alan?
10.
Okay, good, thanks. One of the things that came up was that Sometimes the library users in areas that have libraries that are open only part-time don't have access to a librarian to ask questions of or to point them in the right direction on questions that they might have. And so we've been looking at chat functionality that can be provided by a company called SpringShare. They have a service called LibAnswers and LibChat. They call it a multi-platform communications system. The chat functionality would allow users to ask questions, but it also includes a searchable FAQ and knowledge base. So a lot of the questions that would normally be coming up would be there in an easily searchable format. We're not very far along in this project yet, so you can expect some emails in the next few weeks about this and about how we can move forward, how it can be implemented. We're also looking at LibGuides, which I believe is already used in the CCLA and used to good effect. It's also used by the Great Library, so we're looking at whether or not there are gaps there that we could fill with additional guides, and so we're looking at including that one as well, because working together it creates a suite of information, if you will, for users who may not have access to a librarian when they want it, but they will have access to this group knowledge. So expect to hear more about that come June. Another thing that had come up was the need for some help with marketing. So we're doing a lot of these great initiatives. We've got stuff happening centrally. We've got stuff happening in each of the associations that people want to get the word out about. And so there was some requests for marketing support in that way. So I've been in touch with a few different marketing firms that specialize in nonprofits. I've currently got 3 quotes that would include both a sort of a campaign centrally for some of the stuff that we've been doing, like the LiRN suite, like the LibGuides, if and when that comes to fruition. And then a second prong where it would be a sort of a marketing toolkit that the associations could avail themselves of to promote what they're doing, what you're doing individually, your slow zone, your digital signage, your new resources, whatever you've got going on. Just the fact that you have a great library with lots of great information, or anything that you might want to sort of get the word out about what you're doing at your association. So that would give you a toolkit and some sort of expertise on how to go about getting the word out for that. So again, I have some quotes that I'm reviewing now, and we will probably have some news on that by the summer. In the second stream for the collection enhancement, the books bought with funding from the Law Foundation are hitting the shelves across Ontario. We got some lovely pictures of the books on shelves to share with the Law Foundation, but we'll also be sharing it out more widely. Excuse me. And in year 2 for the collection enhancement stream, the intended focus was on electronic resources, and so we're in active negotiations with a vendor about this. Again, news to come on that probably in September. I don't want to speak out of turn, but I think it's a resource that you will all be familiar with and will like. So stay tuned for that. I know I don't have much time left, so I'm just going to really quickly talk through the Key Network Processes project so that we still have a couple minutes for questions. So you'll recall that we've been undergoing this project that was intended to find some ways for the network to work together even better than it already does. We had a series of consultations over March and April, and I wanted to extend my thanks to everybody for your attendance and your participation. We had good turnouts, and we had lots and lots of good ideas. We actually have a spreadsheet right now that tracks over 70 ideas that came up. Obviously, we won't be implementing all 70 in the next few weeks or anything. So the next stage of this is that we're going to be sort of grouping them together in ideas that could come under one bucket or one project and prioritizing that. We'll be working on that over the summer. And of course, our consultant is working on a report that includes sort of the higher level themes of the suggestions. That is due to me soon. It should be coming to me prior to our board meeting at the end of May, and then after my board has had a chance to take a look at it, we'll be sharing it out with everybody so you can see the results of it. I would say that some of the ideas that came up were fantastic. Remote access is always going to be asked for, and I just wanted to call that out specifically because it came up several times. It is a very long uphill battle. We sometimes feel a little like Sisyphus trying to make progress with the legal vendors. We have continually been pitching to them a Libby type service or overdrive, if you're familiar with that, where we get a certain number of licenses that could be checked out rather than what the vendors want, which is for us to pay for every single lawyer in Ontario, which is, we feel, unreasonable. So talks progress, but they progress at a glacial speed. And I think I will end it there and just give you a chance to ask some questions if you'd like to.
Yeah, any questions from the floor? It's all clear? Everybody's good?
Well, as I said, I will be around for lunch. Unfortunately, I do have to leave after lunch, so please find me if you have something that you wanted to ask me about specifically, and we will chat at that point.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.